Monetary Fund, which incidentally prohibit the use of gold as money. The Articles of Agreement of the International Monetary Fund prohibit the use of gold as money. The money that they have substituted in the market is not only bogus and fraudulent and haram, but more than that. It is a money which functions as riba. That part of riba which can be described as a transaction based on deception, which yields a profit or a gain to which one is not justly entitled. That's the elegant way of describing it. But the Americans have a pretty way of describing it. They call it a rip-off. A rip-off. This paper currency is the biggest rip-off in human history since Adam alayhi salam set foot on earth. And Allah is not impressed with those who have eyes and yet cannot see. But I have a PhD from MIT. Huh? Yes. But you still have eyes and yet cannot see. You still cannot recognize that the paper currency is a rip-off. Huh? Allah is not impressed by those who have eyes and yet cannot see, ears and yet cannot hear, hearts and yet do not understand. Allah says, "Ulaika kal-an'am," they're just like cattle. Bal huwa adall, rather they're more misguided than cattle. Ulaika humul ghafilun. These are the ones who are truly negligent of Allah's laws. The paper currencies were introduced to bring about a massive transfer of wealth that was unjust. Those who belonged to that Zionist alliance, they had a special chemical. So when they printed their paper money, paper currencies, they would dip the paper currency into that chemical. And when it came out of the chemical, it became hard currency. You don't believe me? It became hard currency. And it is only with the hard currency that you can now buy and sell internationally. You're buying from China, and you in Malaysia. The American dollar is so far away. But for the Malaysian to buy from China, he got to pay in US dollar. Can't pay in Malaysian ringgit. Because Malaysia doesn't have the chemical to dip the paper so it will come out as hard currency. You see? And anywhere you go in the world you're traveling, you have to carry hard currency with you. Huh? The traveler needs hard currency. And for trade, international trade, you need hard currency. But they went one further than that. They made sure that their paper must rule the market. So they colluded with the oil exporting countries, OPEC, to ensure that OPEC insists that no oil can be bought except with US dollars. These traitors. The Saudis are the Muslim world's greatest traitors. The greatest punishment should be reserved for the Saudis, who have the Haramain and the Hajj, and yet submit that the oil can only be sold for You cannot pay for oil other than US dollars. And yet, the whole world of Islam, you go to Saudi Arabia, you perform Hajj, perform Umrah, you thank the Saudis, mashallah, mashallah, you made the place look like heaven. Yes, you cattle. Yes, you cattle. You got peanuts in your head. That you see Munkar. So big is this monster of Munkar. And yet not a word about it. You go perform the Hajj and come back. Not even the squeak of a mouse in protest. So the US dollar has commanded the market. And before it, the sterling pound. And all the other European countries. And because Australia is white, so the Australian dollar is also with that chemical hard currency. But Pakistan, Bangladesh, Indonesia, you take a suitcase filled with Bangladeshi taka, suitcase, and you go to Midtown Manhattan, you want to buy 1 cup of coffee, and you offer the whole suitcase, and they refuse. They refuse. Because your paper money is not hard currency. Because this paper money is not sanctioned by the Judeo-Christian Zionist alliance. But Allah has commanded us, do not enter into an alliance with these people. So do not enter into the monetary system that comes from them. Do not do it. That is in the Quran. And if you do it, then you belong to them, not to us. So when you die and you go in your grave, you have a very unpleasant surprise waiting for you, because you'll not be recognized as a Muslim. No. That is their monetary system. What about their political system? The modern secular state, which has membership in an organization known as the United Nations Organization, which has a Security Council and so on. Do not enter into that. The Quran is telling you. Because if you do, you will not be recognized as a Muslim. And yet what has happened? The whole world of Islam has entered into it. No wonder that the hadith is repeated 4 times in Sahih Bukhari. It is a hadith al-Qudsi, direct speech of Allah. But 999 out of every 1,000 of mankind will enter into the hellfire. No wonder. We see it. If you do what they did, you take paper, you print a picture, you put a number, and you assign to that piece of paper an entirely fictitious value. You are attempting to create wealth out of nothing. But only Allah is Badi'u Samawati wal Ard. Only Allah creates wealth from nothing. So the money that we use is money that Allah has created. And Allah has given the value. But they create wealth out of nothing. And they assign the value. And they can manipulate that value. And as they attack your paper, and your paper begins to crumble, which is what the ringgit is doing now. But since you're living in the comfort zone, you're not aware of it. The last time I was here 4 years ago, I bought a dinar for, I think, 96 ringgits. I understand it's no longer 96 ringgit.
700 ringgit.
It is how much?
700.
Say it a little louder for me, please.
700.
Yeah. You hear that? That is your ringgit losing value. As money loses value, there is a massive transfer of wealth from the innocent, unsuspecting